Well, welcome to Qdabra's weekly webinar. This is Patrick Halstead, and I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Today, we're talking about how to integrate your Office 365 forms with Azure, with a cloud-based service. I have Jimmy Risch with me, who's going to be doing some demos with me. And first off, we have a quick quiz for you, a quick poll just to get our get a little bit of feedback from you, just to make it fun. We are launching a quick poll to see if you are ready to surf the cloud. And looks like did it launch? I'm hoping it launched. Yeah, looks like it did. So we're asking everyone today if you're ready to surf the cloud. Some of you already are in the cloud. You've got some issues with scalable data, and this is a picture I took in North Shore of Hawaii 2 days ago on my way back from Japan. I'm back in Seattle and glad to be here, even though it is very dark and cloudy. So it looks like we have almost everyone's committed to a vote, and it looks like most of you have 365 in Azure. No doubt, that's why you're here. 50% of you said yes, and the rest of you are interested in integrating. So thank you for playing the poll here. We're going to close that poll down, and hopefully you can see my screen. And so the purpose of this webinar today is, like I just said, we are trying to help our customers and you integrate your forms with your backend databases, and provide some other tools that help you in that integration process. So the reason why you need the backend database or server is for scalable storage. Obviously, 365 has SharePoint, but SharePoint is somewhat limited in the amount of data you can store. But there are some other reasons why the backend server services may be great for you, and we're going to talk about those today. Obviously, Office 365 is your data entry doorstep. It's your client. That's where people go to fill out forms. We're going to show you a technique today that allows you to submit a form without access to 365. So for external users that don't have access to your library, we can have them submit as well. And then for the database, for your Power BI, for all your reporting needs, you're going to be using Azure or an on-prem service that is externally facing. So what we're going to basically do in this webinar today is show you some ways to connect those two pieces, that client and that server. And we have 4 demos. We're going to show you how to query data from the Azure database or from a database in the cloud, SQL Server. We're going to, and that's useful because it helps you fill out the form more quickly. If you got a customer that someone's filling out a form, they need to fill out the data, you can have a drop down, you can pull the data in quickly and populate the form. The second demo we're going to show is how to submit, like I said a moment ago, from an external user that does not have access to 365, and show those forms appearing in the library. We'll show you then how to synchronize those forms with your backend database, and then finally we'll show you a way to generate a PDF receipt or a confirmation that the data was submitted. So first off, let's show you how to query data from Azure using a key. And we're going to do a demo here in a second, but quickly the benefits of this approach. Actually, let's do the demo first, Jimmy, and we'll come back to this slide. So I'm going to switch presenter. Jimmy, are you there? Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. So first of all, we have set up a database in advance. It's called, it's part of the DBXL default built-in database, and it has a table in it called QD expense report for storing expense reports. I'm going to query this now, and we can see that it already has 2 rows of data in it for 2 expense reports. Now, this is the form we're going to be demoing a couple times today, and it has a data connection to DBXL, and it's using a service in it called QueryDB with user key. And what that allows us to do is have the form authenticate anonymously with the service, but allow the form to indicate who the user is that's performing the query by passing a key that is specific to that user. So let's just launch this form. And I'll just hit query here. And we can see there that we've got 2 rows here for those 2 rows that are in the database.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Okay, back to the presentation. And so why is this important? Why is this useful? Well, like I said earlier, we want to be able to populate the data quickly to reduce the time of entry for your form users. In addition, we want to provide a way to query the data that already exists. So you've got data in a database, you've got line of business applications. You need to get that data in your form somehow, and this is what we're trying to show. The technique works with the filler. It also works in the browser, and it works with our app that we've been touting over the last few months as a replacement for InfoPath. It takes your InfoPath form and allows you to display the data in the browser without necessarily having InfoPath. But InfoPath is still the form technology for SharePoint today, and will continue for many years. In addition, with the key, we're preventing unauthorized access. So we're not allowing anybody to access that data. They have to have a key to do that. So the requirements are that you have some SQL database. It doesn't have to be Azure. It could be on your SQL backend, but it has to be externally available to the net. So you can set up your server, on-prem server, to be queryable from the internet, and that will work just as well. But for this demo, we're showing Azure because we think Azure is great. It's good value, very inexpensive option. And then you just have to have your database. So I think that's the same thing. Okay, a little bit jet lagged here in Seattle this morning. Sorry about that. So we did the demo, and we're up to the next demo. The next demo we're going to show you then how to submit the data from those external users that may not have access to your 365 site. And we'll talk about the benefits at the end. So I'm going to switch back to Jimmy.
Okay, so we're going to open up the form in our Forms Viewer service, which allows forms to be made accessible to anonymous users. So let's suppose I received an email with the URL to the form. It doesn't have to be an email. It could be a link that's somewhere on the internet. I'm going to click this link to open up the form in my browser. Just give it a moment. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we have the form that I was showing you all just a moment ago. It's our expense report form. As we can see here, the DB query is working just as it was before without any special setup because it's contacting the service anonymously. And I'm just going to go about filling out this form. Okay. Christmas gifts for employees. All right, there's my info. I'm just going to enter some line items. Let's say on November 27th, I purchased some teddy bears. And let's see, I bought a Hello Kitty on the 28th. All right, I'm going to go ahead and submit that. So as I was saying, anonymous user can open up this form and submit it. The service behind the scenes will take care of getting that into the actual library. So if I come over here to the library where I'm logged in, refresh, I can see that form that I just submitted. We've got some promoted properties. I can open it up in the SharePoint browser form and InfoPath form services and see that same information I filled out.
Excellent. Thank you, Jimmy. If people have questions, feel free to add those questions to the question area of the webinar, and we'll handle them at the end of the call here in a few minutes. At the end of the webinar, at the end of the demos. We've got 2 more demos to show you. So just real quickly then, to the benefits of getting that external data is the user doesn't have to have a license to your 365 site, so it's reducing your license costs. Obviously, it works on any browser, and you don't necessarily have to have a SharePoint public-facing page. Microsoft, and that's good because Microsoft deprecated the feature recently. It still is there, I think, for some sites, but it isn't available for new 365 accounts. So in general, you'd want to send them a link, an email like Jimmy did, or you could have another page that you have, like a WordPress page or some kind of other web page externally facing for your company site that had the link on that. And then the requirements are that you have our Form Zero app, which is free. We've talked about this quite a bit recently. The Form Zero app uses your existing InfoPath form to display the data. And then, of course, if you want to submit to SharePoint, you need to have a library to submit to, and that's built into the form. But you don't need to change the form. The form is just as is. Form Zero app can use it as is. Okay, so next up then, let's talk about how to synchronize those forms that were submitted to SharePoint to the backend database. Now, why do you want to do this? Well, obviously, you want to get the data in so you can do reporting on the data and show metrics about how well your process is running. You also need to provide scalable storage beyond the 5,000 form limit that SharePoint has. SharePoint will probably extend that limit into 2016, but there's still going to be a limit to how much data you can store in SharePoint. With SQL in the back end, you don't have that limit anymore. You show what you need to in SharePoint and archive off the rest of it, but that archive data still exists in your reporting. So this synchronization is really important. We'll switch to Jimmy then again for the next demo.
Okay, so when you install the synchronization service on your SharePoint site, you get this icon here in the ribbon that says DBXL list settings. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. This is I'm starting from the library that I want to synchronize. So I'll select the DBXL instance I want to use. It's this one, DBXL 365. The document type name is expense report-Azure. Let me just double check that. Yep. We've got some other settings you can use to customize this, but the only one I'm going to use at the moment is the Enable DBXL Submit. I will save and test. Okay, everything went all right. And then I'm going to hit Synchronize. And this will go and synchronize the documents that are already in my library. Okay, processed 1 of 1. Now I'll go back to my library and let's open up a new form in InfoPath Form Services this time in the SharePoint browser form. And I'll fill out another expense report. Let's say this one, this last Saturday, not last Saturday. And if I click Query Reports now, I'll see that new report. Oh, okay, that one doesn't work from. It isn't set up to work from the browser form right now. Okay, so I'll put in as a purpose gifts for customers. All right, and let's give our customers some coffee. So on the first, some Starbucks. And just so we're being egalitarian, we'll give them some Tullys as well. All right, submit that off. And what we should see after just a moment is, yep, it has been synchronized. So if I come over here to the database and refresh, we can see those 2 new rows right there in the database.
And that's awesome. And Jimmy, if you open the preview of the form in the filler, you can see the data is a query as well, right?
Yes, certainly.
Just show them that as well.
Looks like I have the preview already open, so I can just hit this button again. And yep, there are those values.
Yeah, it's easy to make that data connection work in the browser forms. You just have to have a UDCX file. We just didn't do it on the InfoPath side. You don't need a UDCX file to do that in Forms Viewer. In fact, Jimmy, let's show them the Forms Viewer option again, too, while we're at it.
Sure. We'll open this up again. There we go.
Query is very fast. Awesome. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to switch back and we'll finish the final demo here. So once again, synchronizing forms is good. And I mentioned it for scalability to have a place that you can report on your data, point the Power BI tools at. And form changes are not required to do this. You just need to submit to the library. The synchronization tool takes care of everything. It's just an app that you install in your SharePoint site. 2013, 365. It doesn't require InfoPath form services. You could use our Forms Viewer app to submit the data and they'll still synchronize. That's the third demo. So lastly, when people are submitting from the field, I think it's useful to give them confirmation, a tracking receipt, to let them know that their form was submitted successfully. Another benefit is that if your users are actually subcontractors or external users and they have customers, you may want them to be able to provide a receipt to their customers, their third-party people that are the recipients of the form data. And so to do this, we often want to use a portable format like PDF. And so we're going to show you a demo that generates a PDF and sends it back to an email address in the form with an attachment. And I'm going to switch back to Jimmy one last time here. Thank you, Jimmy.
Okay, so the DBXL service to which we set up that synchronization allows you to configure it to send out notification emails with a rendered copy of the form. So we did that ahead of time. So when we synchronized those forms, or when it processed the new one that was submitted, it already automatically sent out those emails to me because we had configured it to send to the employee of the expense report. So we can see here in the body of the email, we've got the view from the form. You can configure it to send any view that's in the form, so you could put some custom stuff there that's just for emails. And we see here as well that there is a PDF attached that also has that form. So I get a nice copy of everything I submitted.
That's wonderful. Okay, so just to recap today, 4 quick demos for you. Benefit of the last one here being that you can generate some kind of a receipt, some kind of a copy of record for those external users or for internal users. It doesn't matter. And that's great. So we've got a question, and if you've got questions, now's a great time to ask. Let's see, Shane. Thank you, Shane, for being here. So I guess it's more of a comment, but guys, what you said here is so cool. This stuff looks great. I would need DBXL for every one of these options demos you showed correctly. Yes, the question is we're really demoing our tools to connect 365 SharePoint with Azure or some database. And we showed you these 4 demos today, and you're right, Shane, each one of these requires that Qdabra DBXL service to be installed, which is simple. It takes about an hour to do it. We've done it for many customers, and you have to have a server running either in Azure or on-prem that's externally available to the internet, and then you configure it to be queryable. You install the DBXL web service. that we're calling, and it's really fast. So you could have millions of forms in millions of rows in your SQL database, and the query time is just super fast, not like SharePoint Online when you're querying lists or libraries. Thanks for that question, Shane. We are happy to present more and demo more. You can get this webinar at our YouTube channel, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Thanks for being here. If there's any more questions, please feel free to email us at webinars@qdabra.com. I don't see any other questions right now, so we're going to close it down. But once again, it's been a pleasure having you here today, and we look forward to doing another webinar in the weeks ahead. Generally, it's every week. Next week, I'm not sure if we're going to do one yet. It's close to Christmas, but if we do, we would love to have you here. Thanks. Have a great day.